Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to Good Orderly Direction, Practical Tools of the Bible. Today we are discussing Genesis 39 and 40, Joseph in Egypt. I'm your host, Dr. Donnelly Snipes. Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of the Pharaoh's officials, bought him from the Ishmaelites. The Lord helped Joseph become a successful man. Potiphar saw that the Lord was with Joseph and that the Lord helped Joseph be successful in everything he did. So Potiphar was very happy with Joseph. He allowed Joseph to work for him and to help him rule the house. And God blessed the house and everything that Potiphar owned. How might good orderly direction help Joseph be successful and make Potiphar successful? Remember, it said God was with him, with Joseph, when he was in Potiphar's house, and God was always with Joseph. So let's think about the characteristics that we've talked about before of good orderly direction, or principles that Scripture teaches us will help us have an abundant life. Prudence, that's a combination of patience and wisdom. And Joseph was very wise in many ways when he had some challenges when dealing with his brothers, but he also felt that God was with him and was patient in enduring his trials. Joseph definitely behaved with earnestness and integrity in everything that he did. He did his best. Again, he may not have been so good about reading other people, but when he was inspired to do something, when he was asked to do something, he did what he perceived as his best. He was respectful to Potiphar. Now, Potiphar bought him from the Ishmaelites. Theoretically, he could have been really poochy about all this and unhappy and just nasty. However, he was respectful to Potiphar. He said, you know what? This is the situation I'm in right now. I've got to make the best of it. Acting out is not going to benefit me. So that goes back to that prudence as well. Forgiveness. We don't see in the stories anything about Joseph dwelling on the fact that his brothers sold him into slavery, that somebody bought him and now had him as a servant. We don't see resentment. We don't see anger. We see him forgiving those people. Remember, forgiveness is somebody saying, what's done is done. I am not going to invest energy dwelling on that. I'm going to learn from it, but I'm not going to continue to invest energy dwelling on something that I can't change. So that's also kind of a prudent thing that he did. Joseph demonstrates endurance or courage in what he's doing. It had to be terrifying to be sold into slavery and then bought, and now all of a sudden you're in Potiphar's household. Well, he did his very best. He acted with integrity, which proved to Potiphar that he was trustworthy. But it took some courage to keep putting one foot in front of the other when it seemed like life just kept dealing him blow after blow. Compassion. We'll see later that Joseph actually has immense compassion for other people. Truthfulness. Joseph is truthful to a fault in many cases with other people. And that serves him well with Potiphar because Potiphar learns that he can trust Joseph with his whole household. And so Joseph rises to a position of power. And selflessness. He recognizes that God has his back. He doesn't take responsibility. That's not the word I'm looking for Potiphar's successes. He recognizes that God has helped him become the person he is and helped him help Potiphar. Think of a time when things did not go the way you wanted. If you took the high road and still worked diligently or earnestly at whatever you were ultimately called to do, How did it benefit you? How did having patience and remaining meek, not prideful or arrogant, saying, I'm better than this, I don't deserve this, but how did remaining meek in this situation or humble benefit you? Maybe thinking to yourself, all right, I've been put in this position, what can I learn from it? Or how can I grow from it? If you did not embrace what was and continued to be upset about what should have been, how did that impact you? What might have been different had you been more like Joseph? Back to the scripture. So Joseph was evidently a very handsome man. The wife of Joseph's master began to pay special attention to him. One day she said to him, sleep with me, but Joseph refused. He said, my master trusts me with everything in his house. I cannot sleep with his wife. That's wrong. It's a sin against God. The woman talked with Joseph every day, but he still refused to sleep with her. One day Joseph went into the house to do work. He was the only man in the house at the time. His master's wife grabbed his coat and said to him, come to bed with me. But Joseph ran out of his house so fast that he left his coat in her hand. She called to the men outside and said, look, this Hebrew slave tried to attack me, but I screamed. Joseph's master listened to what his wife had said and became very angry and put Joseph into prison. Some scholars hypothesize that this may be foreshadowing to Jesus, who also suffered being tempted, yet did not sin, who was slandered and persecuted and imprisoned without cause, and through his trials ascended to heaven. He was tried, he was found worthy, and he ascended to heaven. Think of a time that trouble came upon you. How did God protect you and keep you through that time? Or said in a more secular way, how did good orderly direction protect you and keep you through that time, doing the next right thing? During this time, what were you grateful for despite your challenges? The Lord was with Joseph and continued to show kindness to him. So the commander of the prison guards began to like Joseph and put him in charge of all the other prisoners. Joseph was their leader, but he still did the same work they did. Because God was with Joseph, the commander of the guards trusted Joseph with everything that was in the prison. God helped Joseph be successful in everything he did. Again, we see Joseph behaving earnestly and meekly. He's behaving very selflessly when he's their leader, but he's also still doing the very same things. He could have sat up on a stone somewhere and ordered everybody about, but he didn't. And that goes to a lot to Joseph's character. In what ways did Potiphar's wife's sinful ways backfire on her? How did it negatively impact her husband? This whole incident with her wanting Joseph to sleep with her got Joseph thrown in prison, but you have to wonder what that ended up doing to their relationship. Given the placement of Joseph in the king's prison and the rights given to him, it's speculated that the Potiphar did not fully believe his wife's story, but had to take action to save face. Joseph's integrity while working for Potiphar led Potiphar to make sure Joseph had similar duties and treatment while in prison. So Potiphar was like, Joseph's worked for me all this time, and he's been nothing but honest and true and faithful, but his wife said something else. So Potiphar was put in a very precarious position. Have you ever been in a similar situation in which you had to take the fall for something that was not your fault, but as a result of your integrity, the one who caused your fall also made sure that you were built up? This happens sometimes at work, happens sometimes in families where one sibling will take a fall for the other, will say, I did it, to protect their sibling. And then the sibling who was protected steps up and goes, oh, I can never repay you. We also see this sometimes in the work environment. It does happen. And whether you agree with it, whether you think it's right or not, it does happen. So think about times when you've been in a similar situation that Potiphar was in, dealing with this situation between Joseph and his wife. Principles. This story is interesting because it exemplifies most of the principles of good orderly direction. Prudence. Joseph didn't try to outwardly fight a losing battle. He recognized that showing out in this situation was not going to get him anywhere. So he was patient, believing that God, good orderly direction, the Lord, however you envision it, would help him through this. Earnestness. He acted with integrity in everything that he did. Respect. Joseph shows respect to Potiphar not only by working earnestly, but by not sleeping with his wife. Forgiveness. Joseph forgives his brothers, Potiphar and Potiphar's wife. Joseph had a lot he could have been angry about, but he didn't dwell on that anger. He used his energy to move forward instead of staying stuck in the past. Endurance. Joseph's going through a lot, but he keeps moving forward. He's showing endurance in the face of adversity and courage to keep going on. Compassion. We see that Potiphar may be showing compassion to Joseph because possibly he ensured that when Joseph was put in prison, he was in a position where he would be cared for. And selflessness. Joseph recognized God's hand and refused to give in to temptation.